Welcome back to Exploring Temecula. Today we're talking about the pros and cons of living in Southern California. Over the last 12 years, it feels like I've lived everywhere in Southern California, from the beach to inland or even weekend getaways. It seems like I've been absolutely everywhere or lived everywhere. So if you are somebody that is thinking of relocating to Southern California, moving in Southern California, retiring in Southern California, or you just don't really know where you should actually go, watch this video. I've got a lot of good information, and I feel like my experience here would be very helpful for a lot of people. Guys, so first we're going to get into the pros, and number one, of course, one of the biggest reasons everybody wants to move here is the weather. You can't make sun, so obviously this is a huge draw for Southern California, and I've lived both at the beach and inland. As I mentioned earlier, I prefer the weather inland a little bit for the simple reason of I feel like we get more sun. And in the mornings when I wake up, generally speaking, the sun is shining. When I lived at the beach, you're going to get a lot of gloomy mornings. And also you're going to have the June gloom where, there was a year that I lived, or a couple of years I lived at the beach where the sun seemed to not even come out for June and July. But it's also a little more humid by the beach. Here, yes, you are going to get 100 degrees, 105 degrees, but I personally do not mind that. That's barbecue weather, that's pool weather. And also what you have to understand is when people say that the weather or the temperature is getting to 100 degrees, it's 100 degrees for 3 hours during the day. It's not 100 degrees from 8 in the morning till 9 at night. And one of my favorite things to do inland in regards to the weather is in the summers when the sun sets. It is absolutely perfect to go sit on a patio, have a drink, have something to eat. I always call it Hawaii weather. We, in the summer, in inland, in Southern California, have the Hawaii weather, especially around sunset. Okay guys, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is your ease of life or convenience in Southern California. And I'm going to get into this a little bit, but one of the things that you have to understand is you have everything within 50 miles if you live in Southern California. I don't care if you collect early Nintendo games, records. You Google or Yelp that, and there's probably 2 or 3 stores within 30 minutes of where you live. One of the times that I really, took it for granted, or when I realized how lucky I have it here in Southern California, is simply traveling last year. We took a year and we traveled to 12, 15 different countries, and simple things like if your computer breaks, when you're in Southern California, you wake up, your computer breaks, you call somebody or you can have a new computer or a fixed computer within 2 hours. There's a lot of places that, throughout even the United States that, you're going to wait 2 or 3 days. You've got to drive 30 miles to Best Buy. Right here, right where I live right now, there's Best Buy, there's computer shops everywhere. So that's just one example, but again, the convenience of everything right here for you it really makes life easy, and something that I don't take for granted anymore, and I love about Southern California. Okay, number 3, restaurants, the amount of restaurants, however you want to call it, the quality of restaurants. Right here in Temecula, there has to be 200 restaurants. Everywhere I've lived in Southern California, everywhere you go, there's restaurants and the quality is good and there's variety. I don't care if you're looking for vegan, Indian food, Mediterranean food. Within 10 minutes of where you're going to live in Southern California, you're probably going to find a restaurant that suits whatever you're looking for. Another great thing is the competition. Because there's so many people, because there's so many choices of restaurants, if you're not good at what you do, you're not going to last long. You're not going to make a lot of money. So you can be assured that the majority of restaurants that you go to in Southern California are going to be good. And to back end off the restaurants, one of the things that I love doing is happy hours. My wife and I, finish the day 5 o'clock. Go have a drink, go have something to eat. There's so many restaurants that have great happy hours, And really, with the weather being what it is, it's one of those awesome things that you can do in Southern California. Okay, number 4 goes hand in hand with the weather, and you can be outside a lot. One of the things that I love being outside. I mean, whether it's going for walks or runs mid-morning, barbecuing at night, it seems that 90% of the time, things that I enjoy doing, I can be outside. So again, whether it's exercising, whether it's hanging out with friends, whether it's, just sitting and having a beer in your backyard after work, these are all things that for most of the year, you're going to be able to do in your backyard or around your community. Okay, number 5, and I mentioned this actually in one of my other videos, but it's the opportunity to make money in Southern California. Everybody talks about the expense of Southern California. Oh, well, rent's double and gas is double. Well, if you are better at your job or your business than 80% of people, you are going to be successful. There's 20 million people here. Just be good at what you do, and that $1,000 extra a month you pay in rent is going to be minuscule in what you actually end up making at the end of the year. So I just truly believe that if you have a business mind and you have a work ethic and you want to make money, that Southern California is a great place to do this. Lots of people, come here, work hard, and you're going to be successful. Okay, number 6, golfing. If you are a golfer, of course, Southern California is going to be one of the best places in America that you can live. Just going into more specifics on golfing, depending on where you live in Southern California, if you are on a budget, you're going to have to do some research on how much it is to play golf. Great example is when I lived by the beach or in Orange County, instead of paying $40 to $50 a round during the week for a nice course, you're going to spend anywhere from $70 to $120 a round. So, and it just goes up from there on the weekends. I find that there are many, many more courses inland, especially where I'm living right now in Temecula, that you can play any day of the week or any day on the weekend, as long as you strategically plan it out. You're playing for under $50 a round, and that's some really nice courses, especially during the week. Golf now is a great resource for around here. Get a hot deal, $30, $40. There's probably 10 courses around where I live that you can do that. So again, regardless of where you're living in Southern California, obviously golf is going to be there for you. It's just a matter of how much it's going to cost you to play, and that will depend on where you're actually living in Southern California. Okay guys, number 6 finally, and this is one of the things that if you don't live in Southern California, you might not realize this, but the opportunity for day trips and weekend getaways is endless. Being real quick on this, I've got San Diego, I've got Coronado, I've got the beaches, I've got Palm Springs, Las Vegas, 3 airports that I can get to places like San Francisco in a day really quick, within a couple hours, Lake Tahoe. And again, I think I mentioned Vegas, but that's a great place. It's only a 3-hour, 4-hour drive for us. The mountains, if you want to ski, that's 2 hours away. And the mountains are not only for people in the winter, but it's a beautiful place in the summer to go mountain biking, hiking. There are 2 lakes up there. So, really, Southern California is a paradise for people that are working and have weekends or have a couple days a month that they just want to go do something different. So yeah, there you go guys. Pros of Southern California, a great place. Of course, this video is pros and cons. I do have to, point out, obviously some cons. Personally, I love it here. But here are some cons of living in Southern California. Okay guys, so number 1 on the cons of living in Southern California, and I'm going to lump these 2 together, it's work and your drive time or driving. Obviously traffic is not your friend. If you are planning on moving to Southern California, you need to be strategic in where you live to where you work, unless you love being in your car. Try and keep within 20 or 30 miles if possible at the most of your work. Personally, I don't agree with, or I would never want to have that life where I'm in my car for 2-3 hours a day. If that was the case, I just wouldn't live here. So, I've built my business around being able to, make my appointments around when traffic is bad. If possible, though, if you're not in a position of starting your own business, or if somebody hires you and you are coming here to relocate, make sure you just move as close as you can to your work. It's going to make your life a lot easier and more bearable, and you're going to enjoy Southern California a lot more. Okay, number 2, cost of housing. Of course, again, these are sort of common sense. Everybody does know this, but for an average home in all of Southern California, you're going to be anywhere from $500,000 to like $2 million, depending on where you're moving. Where I live right now in Temecula, I think it's probably one of the most affordable, nicest areas in all of Southern California. I say this on a lot of videos. And again, I've lived a lot of places. It's beautiful here. It's affordable. You're going to be able to purchase a really nice home in between, $500,000 and $800,000, and you get so much in this area for your money. If you're going to go to the beach, obviously the beach is going to be more expensive. You can say the average home price of, a beach home in, let's call it San Clemente, is going to be $1 million. You go up north to Laguna or Newport, the average home price is probably going to be right now anywhere from 1.6 to 2.5. So again, there's a huge, even within beach communities, there's a huge discrepancy in regards to what a home cost would be in this specific beach town to the next beach town. So be careful when you say you're going to move to the beach in California. There's a huge difference in home costs, and you have to really research that. So yeah, number 2 on our cons list, home prices, comparing them to the rest of the United States. Okay, number 3, and some people might disagree with me on this, and some people might be pissed that I'm saying this, but it's a simple fact that there are many communities that were really nice 20 years ago that are dumps now. I mean, the homeless crisis, the drugs and the petty theft in some of these communities that used to be just awesome is crazy. And I've had this issue firsthand. I'm not going to get into specifics or specific cities. You just need to understand that, the city that was nice 20 years ago might not be that nice anymore to live, especially if you have a family. One thing I will say is the last place that I ever want to be, is Los Angeles. The only time I go to Los Angeles or anywhere near that place is if I have to go to LAX. It's pretty amazing that I could take you to cities around LA that you wouldn't even walk at sunset, and the home costs are $750,000. I guess the point that I'm trying to get at here is, do your research before you relocate to Southern California. There's still a lot of great places to live, but depending on if you're a family, if you're single, is going to really shape where you should live. There are places that I've lived that are absolutely amazing for a single person or a married couple that like to get out and do things, but I would never have a family there. So, you have to look at things like schools, the ratings of schools, the extracurricular activities, for your kids. Is there a lot of green space for them to play? Is there a lot of programs for sports, football, basketball field, or football fields, baseball fields, soccer fields? There's a lot of cities that just simply have less of these things. Okay, number 4. You hear a lot about this, gas prices. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Obviously, it's a con. You're spending double the gas, but I talked about this with the opportunity you have here in Southern California. And if you come here and work hard and you take advantage of the sheer population and buying power in this area, gas prices really aren't going to affect you that much. Yes, so what? You spend an extra $200, $300 a month on gas. Well, if you're making an extra $5,000 a month because of where you're living, that really doesn't make any sense. So, but for those of you that want to move here and, are just sort of finding your way, or you don't know really what you're going to do, be aware that, you driving, from work, back and from work, you're going to spend double on gas. So, obviously that's a con. I have to, put this in the video, and people need to be aware of it. So there you have it. Some of the pros and cons of living in Southern California. If you're thinking of relocating to Southern California, if you're thinking of retiring in Southern California, please call me. Even if I'm not working in an area that you're planning on moving, I can definitely give you some insight on, the housing market, obviously, but just, I've lived so many different places and experienced so many different things in Southern California that, I can definitely point you in the right direction on many, many things. If you are thinking of moving in the Temecula area, please call me. I'm owner and broker at Greenleaf Real Estate. I'd love to help. My wife's a licensed appraiser. We know the market. We love helping people getting into homes, selling homes, and hopefully we talk to you soon. Make sure you subscribe. Exploring Temecula. Thank you.